And start off and introduce myself. My name is Enriqueta Belandra, and I am the president of AdFed Suncoast for the 2020-21 year. Our board, we have a great new board of some new people and some great people who've been on our board before. We're doing a lot of great planning for you this year. Our goal this year is value, to bring value to your membership and value to your membership during this time of COVID and a new normal and changing business and all of those things. So we're trying to plan on some new virtual events, having more of these kinds of events, having speakers. So if you guys have any ideas of people that you want to have, that you want to hear from, reach out to us. Reach out to us on social. You can always email us at info@adfedsuncoast.com. So keep an eye on our social for any of our upcoming events. We are actively trying to plan those right now. We're always working in the background. We are starting to brainstorm for our annual Addies that will happen in February. We're working on our venue and theme and all of the fun things that come with Addies. And we also have two of our board member representatives, myself and Marianne, who is going to be going to our District 4 conference later this month down in Fort Myers. So we're working with our district level board to help plan and go through this year and make it great and valuable for all of our members. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker. Today, our speaker is Erin Thomas Duggan. She graduated from Florida Southern College in 1999 with a Bachelor of Science in Communication Arts and went on to serve in positions for the City of Casselberry as Special Events and Marketing Coordinator, United Way of Manatee County as Director of Marketing and Communications, and the Economic Development Corporation of Sarasota County as Community Relations Manager before beginning work with the local tourism board, Visit Sarasota County, as Public Relations Manager in 2005. She now serves as the Vice President at Visit Sarasota County, where she leads a team of marketing professionals and helps shape the strategic direction of visitor services, media relations, communication, media placement, research, and intellectual property management to ensure that Sarasota County is seen as a must-experience travel destination to potential visitors all across the world. In 2012, Mrs. Duggan earned her CDME, Certification in Destination Management Executive, a program through Purdue University and Destinations International. She served as the Junior League of Sarasota President, where she has been a member since 2001. She also currently serves on the Destinations Florida Board of Directors and is an active volunteer at her children's elementary and middle schools. So without further ado, I'm going to pass off the gavel to Erin Duggan.
Hello. Okay, so should I be able to share my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. It says host disabled screen sharing.
Okay.
But we can talk about how Marianne's a Florida Southern grad. You don't really need a lot of moccasins. Very exciting.
All right.
I know, that's amazing.
Erin, you can try again.
Okay.
Go Mocs. I was on the tennis team.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yes.
Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, since there's just a few of you guys on this call, I'm going to keep it very casual. So by all means, if you've got a question, don't hesitate to interrupt, and I'm happy to take them as you think of them. And I know I have said hi to everyone, but I think Erin Lilly joined, and I know her well. So it is good to see her on here as well. So thank you so much for having me come on here and chit chat about Visit Sarasota County and specifically how we're reacting to COVID-19. I thank Enriqueta for thinking of us. We are very sad. I'm sure you guys know that she is leaving us at Visit Sarasota County. And we are heartbroken that she's leaving because she has been phenomenal on our team, but I am very much understanding of this being a better opportunity for her, and the best way to grow is to try new things and do different things, and she knows where to find us down the road. Our paths may very well meet again. So you guys are in great hands with Enriqueta being your president during this time. I know she has spoken very highly of AdFed. And I've been so excited that she's been able to go to all of these different conferences and events and meetings. So thank you for being such a good sounding board and system for her. So real quick, I'm just going to talk at a very high level about who is Visit Sarasota County, because then Raquetta goes, you might want to mention just a little bit of like who we are and what we do before we dive into how we've been responding to COVID-19. But we are a not-for-profit corporation formed 38 years ago to promote tourism in Sarasota County. I like to say that the hotels, especially back in those days in Sarasota County, it wasn't your Ritz-Carlton and your Hyatts and your Westins and your Embassy Suites. It was a lot of mom and pop beach bungalow type hotels, and it was very expensive for them to market. Gosh, you really, really think about, there were no consumer e-newsletters and, ways to reach out to people as easily as you can now. So they're the ones who banded together, the hoteliers, to say, if we were to collect a tax from tourists, we could band those funds together to promote the community. And that's why people would want to come here. Because generally speaking, when you go on a vacation, unless it's like some really specific resort, you tend to go to the destination because yes, there's some things you want to do at the hotel, but then there's some other things in the community that you want to do as well. So for the hotels, it made sense for them to band together and to market the county or the community, and rising tides raises all boats. That would then in turn help the individual property. So I always like to say that because I think sometimes the purpose of tourist development tax got lost. And that is where our funding comes from. Is the whole point is that we're spending tourist development tax to try to continue to put heads in beds. So we are a 501c6, meaning we're a private public partnership. So we do have a contract with Sarasota County government, and we literally present a plan to them every year and get feedback from not only our board of directors, but the Tourist Development Council, and then eventually the Board of County Commissioners to create our annual plan that we deliver every year to the county. And of course that plan, not only can you find it on our website if you ever are interested in looking at it, but it also has measurable outcomes that we're responsible for meeting with the county. So I love that kind of checks and balance, that we know we're working on something that they're interested in us doing, and that we're holding ourselves accountable by saying these are the outcomes that we look to deliver. So what makes Sarasota County a little bit different than a lot of the other communities around the state is that of the tourist development tax that's collected in Sarasota County, we, and when I say we, the promotional arm of the TDT, we only receive about 25% of it, which is actually, I think, maybe even the least percentage in the entire state of Florida. Most communities are getting all of it or a very high percentage of it. And I'm not saying that as a negative. I think where the remaining percentage of it goes to what makes our community so interesting. So that would be to, first and foremost, the biggest chunk of it is going to beach maintenance, beach renourishment. In fact, I think I have a slide right here. You'll see the biggest is going to beach maintenance and beach renourishment. But I also like to say that's what makes parking at the beach free. There's no tolls to get over the bridges because that's how a lot of other communities might pay for some of their beach fees. But it also, tourist development tax also goes towards things like Nathan Benderson Park, the sports stadiums, the new Cool Today Stadium in Venice where the Braves are spring training, but also the Baltimore Orioles Stadium, Ed Smith. And the promotional part is for us. And then cultural arts is the Arts Alliance grants, and then Moat Aquarium. If you've been following recent politics, in wanting to build that new aquarium, they asked for some funding from the county. And so the county, as of right now, has basically said that they're committing $20 million of bed tax over the next 20 years. So it'll pan out to be about $1 million a year for 20 years. So you guys probably all are aware of why tourists are important to Sarasota County. Not only when they come are they paying tourist development tax that allows us to have all of those great amenities that I just talked about, but also they're paying sales tax when they're here too. So they're also going to better our roads and our schools and all kinds of other things that sales tax goes. And then visitor spending generated 25,000 plus jobs in Sarasota County. So it is definitely one of the largest industries in our community. These taxes that visitors pay help save us all money. And then of course, it's what keeps our restaurants in business, and it's what keeps our arts and cultural groups going strong. And I always like to say as a resident, that's part of why I live here. I live here because I can go to you know, fantastic attractions, great restaurants, great shopping districts. And those entities are able to stay in business year round because they're able to balance out, especially when we lose our snowbirds, our seasonal residents. It's nice that we've got that balance of tourists and residents supporting all of these businesses. This is our organizational team, and I thought that this was an interesting thing to show you because it kind of shows a couple of things. First of all, the positions we've lost since COVID-19 hit. As you can imagine, our funding comes from tourist development tax. Well, tourist development tax is drastically down because you had into March and April and May where visitors weren't coming at all. And now that visitors are coming, they're really only kind of coming on the weekends, and even at that, at a relatively low occupancy. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So as you can imagine, in the year ahead, our budget is going to be significantly less than what it has been and what it should have been without a pandemic hitting. But I also like this chart because it kind of shows you what we do and how we do it. So on the very far left side, you know, we have a finance director, someone who helps us with our administration, and a bookkeeper. We would not be able to operate with those two people because most of the times marketing minds aren't really so great when it comes to the numbers and the logistics of the administrative office. So we're very thankful to have them. But Kelly, our director of sales, leads the sales efforts, and then I lead the brand team. And so how I always like to describe the two of us is we're the ones, the brand team, that's putting out the advertising, the website, the social media, the content. We're kind of the engine that could, where the sales team is more of the boots on the ground. They're the ones that are out and about shaking hands and kissing babies, which, as you can imagine, in a COVID-19 environment, I'm going to have to come up with a new way to describe them because they are not shaking a lot of hands and they are not kissing a lot of babies. Or I guess I should say they're just doing it virtually. So their bread and butter is really meeting with meeting planners, tour operators, travel agents. You've got Shelby, who is with our sports department, kind of doing the same thing, moving the needle on that group business. So they're the ones that, you know, used to go to a lot of like shows where they could meet travel agents and tour operators and bring back leads to our hotels to kind of move the needle on group business. So they're still very, very much doing that right now. They're just doing it virtually and via phone instead of being able to go to these shows in person. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because the last slide I'm going to talk to you about is this CARES Act funding request that we've put in. I don't know if we're going to get it. We might not, but it's going to show you how we're really trying to build that business because, as you probably are aware, when you do go to a conference or a meeting, a lot of times it's planned 12 months out. So we really feel like we need to be pushing this right now to try to generate business, not for next weekend, but for next year. We recently did a research study, and when I say we employ Downs and St. Germain is the name of the firm that we use right now. In fact, this is our 6th year with them, but it's a third-party research firm. They, yes, they have a lot of tourism clients, but they actually do a lot of other stuff too for governments and SwiftMud. And so I do think that they've got a good knowledge base on all things research. In fact, the two gentlemen that own the firm are both retired professors from North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Florida State. So they've been teaching research in addition to conducting research. They're both PhDs. But we had a lot of elected officials, which is asking us, which was a great question for them to ask us, is how do you know what marketing is based on? How many people are coming here based on your marketing versus how many people were just going to come here anyway? And that's a great question. That's a really fair question. We know a lot of people come to Sarasota because their grandmother lives here or they're visiting a family member or a friend. And so we hired them to do a survey. And in fact, I know you guys are marketers, so I'll offer this up if you're ever interested in looking at it. It was just done about 9 months ago, 12 months ago. So they kind of walk you through the methodology of how they look at our intercept surveys and all of these different things that they do with our tourists to try to determine what made them choose Sarasota County. Was it a message that they heard somewhere? If so, where? Or was it just for some other reason? So we are now saying our marketing efforts account for about 30% of the visitors to the area. And again, I know I talked a little bit about meetings and groups and weddings. And of course, we've got leisure visitors that we're going after as well. But there's a lot of sporting groups that, because of Shelby Connett, who is our sports director, and her efforts, and incentives and things that we're able to offer to sports groups, there's a lot of sporting events that happen in this community that would not happen without that and those efforts. We also have research that has told us for about every dollar of TDT tax invested in VSC, we're receiving back about $4.44 in government revenues. And our direct economic impact in fiscal year 19 was about $3.1 billion. So you guys probably are familiar with kind of the life cycle of a consumer. For us at Visit Sarasota County, when I ask people what inspired their next vacation, I feel like if I asked 3 people, I would get 3 totally different answers. I know every vacation I go on, there's a completely different reason as to why I'm doing that based on the last vacation I did. But even if it comes down to I'm visiting family, you can only visit so many family. So what makes you choose to visit the family member in Sarasota County over the family member in Dallas, Texas? And so that's why we always like to say that there's 5 stages of travel. You're dreaming, and that's where I think a lot of times what we do in the PR world, whether it's accolades that we're working hard to get on, such as the #1 beach on TripAdvisor, or Venice, the best seaside town in Coastal Living magazine. There's a lot of efforts that our departments do to help move the needle when it comes to someone who's just dreaming of their next vacation. But you also have to do different tactics if you're trying to talk to someone who's planning their vacation. So that's where we might have more of our SEM or our SEO that's really trying to help push that person from planning to booking. And then of course, experiencing when they're here, we want to make sure that they go to the visitor centers, because we know that an educated visitor is going to not only spend more money when they're here, but they're going to be more inclined to come back and become a repeat visitor. We love when we hear people say, I had no idea you had so many things to do. I have to come back. We love repeat visitors. And then, of course, we also want people after they've experienced their vacation to share. So I think when people brag, and they become ambassadors and they're showing pictures of what they did when they're in Sarasota County, they're in turn helping us inspire their circle of friends, and that gets us back to the dreaming phase. So I share that with you because we at Visit Sarasota County have people on our staff who are always doing things to help move the needle under all 5 of these stages. So I'm now going to get into COVID-19. So everything changed when COVID-19 hit. I am going on my 16th year at Visit Sarasota County, and I have never seen anything like this. I have dealt with red tide. I've dealt with hurricanes. I've even dealt with some British tourists that were murdered in downtown Sarasota and the Newtown area. And so we've had a lot of different crises come to us with water quality. This one has just been completely unlike any other. And it's interesting to note that January and February were the best ever, which was actually kind of exciting because we had a lot more inventory that had been added. You think of all of those new hotel rooms that were added into not only downtown Sarasota, but even in South Sarasota County, we've had some new hotel product as well. So when you've got more rooms to fill, you need to put your marketing message in front of more people. And so we were really excited to see that we had finally had a full recovery from red tide, and we were able to kind of build back up the rate from all of the new hotel inventory when all of a sudden this pandemic hit. So as you can imagine, March TDT collections were down 50% because don't forget, we had a good 2 first weeks of March. April, I think our collections were down 98%. But what I think is interesting to note is that we at Visit Sarasota County, our bread and butter is heads and beds. That's a term that a lot of us in the tourism industry use. And it was the first time ever that we were allowed and encouraged to not worry so much about putting heads in beds, but really more just supporting the tourism industry. So when I say we pivoted. You know, we really started talking exclusively to locals, trying to get locals to not only know about maybe curbside dining, but we even took our program, Savor Sarasota Restaurant Week, which was in its 15th year. And we worked with the creative agency. We work with Miles. I know Mary Ann used to work there. We were just chit-chatting about some old things that we had done together back in her days there with helping with our website. But we were able to tweak the Savor Sarasota Restaurant Week logo to let people know, hey, yes, you can dine in, but you can also order food to go. We really promoted curbside dining. We really promoted curbside retail shopping, and wanted to make sure that we were supporting our tourism industry. We also started doing weekly, if not twice a week, Zoom meetings for our industry. Some of them had 80, 90, 100 people on them because we were hearing from them the challenges that they were having. So we were wanting to get the answers to them. And we also thought if 1 or 2 or 3 of them have that question, probably the rest of them would like to know the answer as well. So we really, a tourism board, started doing some very different things than we had done before. I'm sure it goes without saying, we absolutely paused all of our paid advertising. And then when we kind of started to see the cases go down, we made the very difficult decision to turn that advertising back on. Of course, not doing any print because we weren't wanting to commit to anything beyond the here and now and today. So we went to an all digital approach. We very heavily slashed what we had planned on spending to try to put some money into reserves to give back to the county, or I shouldn't even say to give back because they pay us afterwards, but just to kind of be very thoughtful about reserving some money so that hopefully maybe in the upcoming year we can go back and ask for some of that back for some very probably much needed campaigns. But the most important thing about us going digital was that we were able to not only turn it on or off as needed moving forward, but we could also continually change the messaging based on what we were hearing. And I'm going to get into a little bit of a consumer sentiment study that we did that I'm also happy to share with you guys, because I know as marketers, you might be more interested in this than the average person. But we learned a lot of things from consumer sentiment studies and doing a couple of them. So we were able, the nice thing about the digital ads is we could change the messaging, because what we were hearing people wanted to hear back in May is very different than what people are wanting to hear today. So we've been able to adapt to that. And I will say that this summer business has absolutely gotten better, but it is very much what I would call a weekend business. It's the in-state traveler that's kind of coming over maybe for a night or two. For a beach weekend is what we're mostly seeing, or something that they can do that's outdoors. And so I will also say that we were targeting people based on behavior. So it wasn't so much targeting people on household income or age or even geography. It was more looking for people who were dining out in restaurants or maybe buying a theme park ticket, because we didn't have enough money to try to convert someone to becoming a visitor that absolutely wasn't even interested in leaving their house. We knew we needed to get our ads in front of somebody who was already exhibiting behaviors that they were looking to get out of their house and do things. So in April, we kind of launched this phased recovery approach. I already talked about how we really focused locally, which was actually kind of fun in Regatta because, right, we got to go after, we actually got to talk to locals, which isn't something that we normally get to do. And I hope it showed them a little bit about who we are. I know that we saw incredible spikes on our social media following by locals. So that was, really fun for us too, because again, we can kind of convert them into brand ambassadors. And when they do have friends and family come and visit, they'll know about our visitor centers, our website, and all of the resources that we offer. But I would say right now we are absolutely in phase 2. We are doing, again, still all digital approach. so that we can tweak the messaging. But we are trying to create that overnight visitation. Right now, we are still very much what I would call drive market. We have gone out of the state a little bit into the Southeast United States, but we have not gotten into targeting people to get onto planes. Again, that's another situation where with our very limited funds, we don't have enough money to spend our resources building consumer confidence in air travel. I think that's going to be for someone else to do. But I will say that SRQ has been reporting good. They think the recovery is going to take a long time, but things are definitely getting better. And then phase 3 for us is when we're kind of back on track. We are not there yet, but that will be when we really do start to do what I would call attracting that flight market. So I talked about this consumer sentiment survey we were doing. So where this stems from is thankfully there's a lot of national organizations that were already doing consumer sentiment studies kind of for the United States of America. So we were most certainly looking at that, but there were some things that just didn't necessarily make sense for us. And as you can imagine, a tourist going to maybe like a city like New York City or San Francisco is very different than the person who's going to want to come to Sarasota County. If anything, there's a lot of benefits to coming here because we've got a lot of what people were wanting, less crowds, outdoor space. So we knew we needed to do a survey specific to someone looking for a Gulf Coast, Florida vacation. And because we do have such good ties with everybody in the DMO space in the state of Florida, we work very closely, talk daily, not only to Visit Florida, but all of our friends around the state, Tampa Bay, Visit Bradenton, Visit Charlotte. Fort Myers, Lee County was interested in doing a consumer sentiment study like this as well. So they were able to do it with us and split the cost. So we've been using that to help us shape our messaging and our targeting. We continue to look at the consumer demand as to where we're going. But I thought you guys, again, being marketers, would be interested in the details about this study and some of our key takeaways. So one of the things that we did not see in the first or even really second wave was how much people wanted to see masks on people. They wanted to see what the restaurants and the hotels were doing to clean the tables, to clean the menus, to clean the hotel rooms. So not only from this survey did we take away things like, okay, consumers, rightfully so, are going to trust the CDC to tell them when it's safe to travel, not a tourism bureau. Don't blame them. I think I'm going to trust the CDC a little bit more than I'm going to trust a tourism bureau. But this is the kind of takeaway information that was really able to help us shape it. So based on the opening of the economy, consumers are divided on whether they feel it's safe to vacation. You've got a lot of consumers that just flat out want to wait until there's a vaccine to even consider anything. What worked really well for us is people were saying that they were looking to go to a beach. They were looking to go to a state park. They were looking to do things like dining as long as they could sit outside. So we were seeing in July about half of consumers still planning to take vacations between then and September. However, you saw a high percentage as well at that time totally open to postponing their vacations. But I will say in the last study that we received, which I literally just received yesterday, so I wasn't able to put any of that information in here, consumer confidence has continued to increase, which is very positive for us. At that time, 2 in 3 consumers planned to vacation within a month after COVID-19. So I think that also shows up there's a lot of pent-up demand. So I do think that when we do get to the other side of this, hopefully the tourism industry will have more guests than they can handle. Trying to just kind of stay high level here. I mean, destination websites continue to be a top travel planning resource, so that is good to know, and that was good for us to hear that people were still interested in coming to us for information on our area and the things to do when they're here. But really kind of what I wanted to, 2 in 5 consumers have been negatively impacted financially by COVID-19. So therefore they're going to take fewer vacations. Totally understandable. Not too much we can do about that. One thing our vacation rentals did not like hearing was that consumers continue to prefer hotels, although interest in vacation rentals and staying with friends and family increased in July. The interesting thing about this, and we think it stemmed from at first people thought, oh, they're going to have higher cleaning standards perhaps in a branded or a flagged hotel. But I think where vacation rentals have panned out and have turned out to be okay is that I think people wanted to be able to not have to. I think people were looking for kitchens where they could make their breakfast or perhaps more easily cook dinner at home. I also think too, it kept people out of hotel lobbies or where they felt like there was going to be a lot of crowding. So what I always love about research is that sometimes it doesn't tell you what you think it's going to tell you, or it contradicts what the numbers are telling you. So that was something that we found very puzzling when we saw, and it is interesting as the consumer sentiment studies have continued on, it is something that what we thought is panning out to be true, that people are interested in vacation rentals after all. But when we first started doing digital ads, we were not necessarily talking about responsibility or social distancing because at that time, people did not want to see those words. And so once we saw from the sentiment studies that people absolutely wanted to see that, we started changing the messaging in our ads and are doing a photo shoot right now with models where not only will we have them wear masks in those ads, but we're also doing the same shots with them not wearing masks so that in 12 months, if this isn't an issue anymore, we didn't just waste money on a photo shoot. We'll still have photos without masks in those same environments as well. In the meantime, though, I will say, since we were a little slow to the switch to do a photo shoot, and again, it was for no other reason but financial, we have been on a spending freeze. We were able to use user-generated content to provide us with the photography that we needed. So not only user-generated content, which we were getting a lot of from a social media perspective, and we use CrowdRiff as the platform to help us with the licensing issues there, but we were also able to lean on our partners to provide us with photography as well. Just a high-level look at our search engine marketing tactics. We also started incorporating in there that we wanted to show up for people who were looking for safe travel, since we knew that that was a word that people were specifically looking for. And while we usually target age-wise, in addition to geography and behaviors, 35 and up, we started looking at a lower group going with 25 and up because, again, we wanted to take advantage of some of the younger people that were perhaps more interested in traveling than some of the older people. So here's just kind of a look at our social media creative. Our tactics here were to stay, again, very aspirational, especially when there were spikes, because Enriqueta knows this firsthand. You know, we did turn on our advertising in May, but we very quickly had to turn it back off in June because the spikes were getting bigger and bigger. So when that happened, we didn't just want to go dark when it came to our social media perspective or even our website and content perspective, but we didn't want to have a strong call to action. Because guess what? With all of those new locals following us on social media, they're also very honest. So if they thought that, and again, thankfully this didn't happen to us, but we did see this with a lot of our friends around the state, that if they were saying things like, oh my gosh, look at our beach and look at this great, resort, press this button and book your vacation right now, you had residents chiming in saying, I can't believe you're trying to get more people to come here when we've got people dying. Our hospitals are full. So that's why I say there's this balancing act between when to turn it off and when to turn it on, because we most certainly value our relationship with our residents just as much as we value our relationship with our tourists. And we can appreciate as residents as well that if you're scared to go to Publix because you don't want to be around your neighbor, you really, really don't want to go to Publix if you're going to be around your neighbor and a tourist. So that was one of the reasons why we would not have calls to action during times of spiking. So here you can kind of just see we've got the virtual experiences that we were promoting to stay on brand, to stay top of mind. We had our outdoor activities for those who were looking to go outside. We had our safety updates. And then, of course, all things that you can do from a takeout perspective or a curbside perspective. We showed a lot of videos. Hopefully you guys know Adam Cellini. He is on staff with us. He is our content coordinator. He was with ABC7 before, but he's been with us for almost 2 years now. But we're very lucky to have him because not only can he go out and shoot and edit videos very quickly, but he also does a lot of writing for us and also works with a lot of freelance writers because we don't want everything to be in the voice of a 30-year-old male. So we make sure that we use freelancers of all ages. I always say we like to have freelancers that have kids. We like to have freelancers who hate kids. So we're getting a little bit of content that can appeal to everybody. We always want for everybody to see themselves when they look at our ads or when they come to our website to look at our content. So that's another reason why, and I know we're not getting into that today, but we always try to make sure that we're using models of a variety of ages. We've even in the last few years have been able to do some things with, we hired a child with Down syndrome. We've, used talent in wheelchairs. Believe it or not, but most grandparents don't have six-pack abs. So I have been adamant for years that we don't use, the grandpa with the six-pack abs. We've got some biracial families. So we're really trying to make sure that when people come to us, they can see themselves, whether it's in images or in voice when reading a narrative. So I just wanted to note that as well. I did talk about user-generated content and how incredible important that has been for us. Nature photography is a given. We work with a lot of our partners like the Conservation Foundation to do some moment in nature social media for us. So not only did they share it on their social media pages, but then we were able to share it on ours as well. Aggregating has been a lot of fun for us to share other people's messaging. With our website, we're continuing to talk about safety, outdoors, things that you can do from home virtually. People are actually wanting to see the masks now where they didn't so much in April, May. Absolutely, people are wanting to see it now. We're continuing to make sure that that sort of thing is optimized on our website. And then just real quickly, I'll end chatting about PR. Brittany Girton does our PR. She does a fabulous job as well. And, one of the hardest decisions we had to make right when COVID-19 hit was to let go of our PR agencies that were on retainer. That was absolutely not something we wanted to do, but there was just again, we were trying to make tough cuts and try to do what's best for the tourism industry moving forward. So we had an agency out of New York that would really help us with all of our national pitches and relationship building. And then we had an agency out of London, United Kingdom. They helped us not only in the UK, but also in German-speaking markets as well. It was a no-brainer to let the international PR firms go because no one's traveling internationally, not to mention we're not going to be able to host any media from there right now either. But it was so difficult to let go of that agency in New York because they really helped us with a lot of the proactive stuff so that Brittany in our office could focus on the reactive stuff. So when I talk about pivoting, she's the one who pivoted here. You can't do the reactive and the proactive and expect to do a great job with both. So she really tried to be strategic with her proactive approach. The MICE market was something that we already had going on, and MICE basically is meetings, incentives. But we made the decision to continue with that messaging because not only could we talk about safe meetings, which is something that we know people want to hear, but again, I already talked about this is something that's going to move the needle for business for next year. So again, it's kind of keeping that pipeline going because not only do we want to focus on the leisure visitor, but we also want to focus on the group business as well. Doing stuff with Visit Florida, working locally with the media. Every time we get a request locally, we do it. It has been a lot more convenient now that they want to do it via Zoom, but we really respect and appreciate that relationship, and we want to do everything that we can to keep it going. All of the media that we've been hosting over the many, many years that we've been hosting media, 20 plus years, we take their emails if they want so that they can continually get information from us. So sending a quarterly e-newsletter to the journalists that we've got relationships with to kind of let them know what we've got going on. And then one really great thing that Brittany did recently was some virtual desk side. So she was able to email or mail them some stuff in the mail prior to the virtual chit chat. But it was really fun too that we were able to incorporate some of our partners, Vicki Oldham from Newtown Alive and Ringling Museum and Selby Gardens, to have some of our partners be a part of those virtual desk side visits as well, because it's always better when the journalist can hear the story from the experts. And then real quick, I'll just end with this CARES Act funding request that we've made, just so that you guys are aware of it. As you probably are aware, the federal government has some funds that they have made available to the different communities. I know that Sarasota County government has been given some funds to try to determine the best way to spend them in the county. So the proposal that we at Visit Sarasota County have put together is 100% a proposal. The idea came from our industry. We started to notice a lot of them were calling us and saying, I can't do virtual, I can't really do virtual tours of my property because I don't have the platform nor the photography. Can you help? I don't have any money. I've let go all of my staff. Can you help? So we didn't have any money either. So it was just something that kind of sat in the back of our head. And the more they kept asking us for it, the more we started to realize, you know what, that probably would be a good ask. So the idea is that right now, as I already mentioned, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday business is doing pretty well, but they're really, a lot of the hotels are really hurting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we would like to try to target some small meetings, some small incentive groups to come to the area. So we know to do that, we have to showcase not only our destination and the meeting spaces and the rooms, but we also have to showcase what these venues are doing to be safe, how they're socially distancing, because it's different. You know, if these hotels were to use their old photography, you would have 10 people at a table and tables very closely together. We need to now show where you've got maybe 2 people at a table and they're at opposite ends and the tables are spaced apart. So we're looking at trying to get not only a virtual platform like a Matterport or a Threshold, but also to get some new 360 photography, and not only of hotels with meeting space, but also venues like Selby Gardens, Circus Arts Conservatory, Ringling, because we also want to go after small weddings. There have been a lot of cancellations, as you can imagine, over the last 6 months. So there is some pent-up demand. So we would like to also push that as well, and some sports events. So we're going to be getting this photography for the sports facilities as well. So to me, it's a nice balance of trying to still go after some weekend business with the weddings and the sports, but also doing something where we're going after that weekday business as well. So I don't know if this is going to get approved. We asked for about $400 and some odd thousand to be able to do this. It would be getting, I think, around 60 or 70 different venues in town photography. But even more, I always like to say there's 2 parts of the campaign. The first part is the asset creation, and then the second part is the distribution. So in addition to putting everything together, the second part of that, and probably even the more robust part, is then how we would advertise the platform and target these group event organizers. So we'll see in the upcoming weeks if this is something that our county commission is interested in. To me, they have such a hard choice to make, because so many people need the money, and so many people, rightfully so, are going after the money. So even today, when I was talking to one of the commissioners about it, I said, look, you know, if this doesn't come through, we completely understand. And we're still definitely working as hard as we can to try to move the needle on this sales market. But we do feel like that if there is some funds available, this would be one way to not only help the sports facilities and the meetings, venues and the hotels. But keep in mind, if all of those entities are full, they all trickle out and go and eat at the restaurants and go grab a drink at the bar and go shop at the retail outlet. So we feel like it's a good way to really help the industry, because again, those are bartenders and waitresses and retail associates. And so right now, a lot of them feel like they've got work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but we're really trying to help build business for them so that they can get a steady paycheck and work throughout the entire week. So with that, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I know I am a fast talker, but because there were only a few of you on this call, I thought I could kind of get through this very quickly. So does anyone have any questions for me? And of course, the nice thing with Enriqueta being on your board is she is very much aware of everything that I just talked about. So if you think of anything else down the road, not only can you always email me, but you could talk to her about it as well. And I will also say we get our best ideas from business owners and people who live, work, and play in the community. So if you ever think of an idea, please, please, please send it to me. You've got my email address right there. We love working with the community to try to hear what their needs are, what their challenges are, so that we can create some sort of a marketing program to help tackle it.
Thank you, Erin. You did a
Thank
great
you.
presentation. Does anybody have any questions for Erin? No? All right. Well, as she said, you can always give her an email or ask me. I'll always be around to answer any questions. So if anybody wants to unmute themselves and just give her a round of applause. You're so happy to have her.
Erin.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Erin, for providing that presentation and explaining all of the branding and going over how Sarasota is going through COVID. We really do appreciate it. And if anybody else has any questions for AdFed, you can always reach out to us at info@adfedsuncoast.com. But for now, I think I will go ahead and end the call.
Oh, you know, with Enriqueta leaving Visit Sarasota County, as sad as we are about that, I'm hoping that maybe I can get more involved and at least become a member and get your emails and all of that good stuff. So I'm excited to learn more and to get to know some of you better. So,
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
all right. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Good job. Good job. Everything doing for all the
Thank
businesses.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.